Welcome to the initial episode of the 3 for 3 podcast, where three guys have three opinions about one thing. My name is Mark Bates, and if you're watching this, you're at the very beginning of our 3 for 3 podcast stream. Before I introduce myself, let me pass myself off to one of my co-hosts, Ed Song. Take it away, Ed.
Hey, my name is Ed Song. I am a moral and political philosopher. I teach at George Fox University, which makes me qualified to dispense informed opinions on the things that matter most.
I'm going to go ahead, even though I wasn't introduced. I am not a robot, unlike Ed Song. I'm a real person, and I am a computer scientist. I work as a CTO for a startup called Block Plants and am an academic at heart, if not as a profession.
Okay, and like I said, my name is Mark Bates. I full-time teach mathematics at Oxnard College in Oxnard, California, but also on the side, develop and manufacture board games. I have a board game company called Infinite Pie Games, where we make two games right now: Sovereign Chess, a board game with chess pieces of 12 different colors, and World Cup, where a card game where you can play the entire World Cup soccer tournament in a single evening.
Link in bio.
How come I'm the only one who's not shilling something? That doesn't seem right.
Lost opportunity.
Three guys giving three opportunities to shill their wares. So, well, welcome to the 3 for 3 podcast. This podcast came out of an evening of dining at Ed and Felicia Song's house. All three of us are married and have lovely wives that are probably well more qualified to be doing this podcast than we are. But we're sitting around the dinner table asking questions like, what are some of the best bands of the 80s? What are our favorite French fries? What are favorite movie surprises? And we realized that the three of us guys, of course, have very strong opinions about these issues and wanted to not only create a podcast to share that, but also give the opportunity for people out in the world who are interested to give their opinions as well. And so the format, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a topic, which I'll introduce in a second, and all three of us have thought about our three top candidates for that topic.
And in great depth.
In great depth. With good reasoning and expert analysis. And we've also put out a poll that some people have already taken to kind of see the world's view on this topic as well. So
Hashtag Legion of Fans.
Legion of Fans. So our first podcast topic, this is something that pretty much everyone has an opinion about, is our favorite French fries. So before we dive into our choices for the favorite French fries, I think, is it Ed or Don who's going to be talking about French fries, kind of our conditions around this topic and some things about French fries? I think
the expert will be talking about it. So that would be me. And so basically we're kind of all academics at heart with a bunch of side gigs going on, this podcast not being the least of them. So the first thing any academic has to do is define their terms. And so for that, we're asking the question, what is a French fry? And so rather than sort of putting boundaries around what a French fry is, I'm going to put more of a flag in the ground and say, this is a French fry. And everything that goes farther away from that becomes less and less of a French fry. And I'm just going to throw it down because as an expert, a consumer of French fries, I've decided that a French fry is made from a potato, cut in a thin strip, deep fried, salted, and served with ketchup. Now, there are no objections yet. That is the flag in the ground. Now, I wanted to say, how can we walk away from that flag, and at what point are we no longer talking about a French fry? That's part of the discussion here, I think. But what is that potato made of? Well, McDonald's has a handful of different kinds of potatoes they use. Most of them have the word russet in it, the russet Burbank, the Ranger russet, the Umatilla russet, and the Shepherdie potatoes are what McDonald's uses for their own potato. I would say that's probably the right canonical thing. But a provocative question is, must a French fry be a strip of potato? Well, it could be a shoestring. It could be a thick cut. It could be a curly fry, perhaps a wedge or a steak fry. We may even venture as far as to say a waffle cut fry. I'm looking at you, Chick-fil-A, but we are walking farther and farther away from that flag in the ground. We could even go further afield and say tater tot. But I feel confident to say that a tater tot has verged into another territory entirely. Must they be peeled? That's a question to be discussed. Must they be white potatoes? It could also be a sweet potato, a blue potato, a taro or yucca root. I think that a deep fried carrot is too far. Must they be deep fried? Perhaps an air fryer? What kind of oil? Canola, as per modern McDonald's? Or dare we go with peanut oil or the delicious but canceled lard? Must they be served with ketchup? Well, this is where we go global with our French fry, because typically in England they're served with vinegar and referred to chips, which is wrong, or they are served with mayonnaise in Belgium, perhaps with cheese curd and gravy, as in the Canadian poutine. Is that even how you say it? Perhaps in California they'll be served in a burrito or on a salad, as in the Pittsburgh salad. Appropriately, they should be dipped in a vanilla milkshake, and the list goes on and on and on. You can have a chili fry, a garlic fry, whatever. The shape of the French fry in our cultural imagination. So I would say we're talking about a strip of fry made from a potato served with ketchup. And if you go farther away from that, you're risking the wrath of the expert.
Okay. Any thoughts, Ed, about this?
I was just thinking about, we'll go into our rankings in a second, but if you all have thoughts on like what the platonic ideal of a French fry is for you, I would say for me, the platonic ideal of a French fry is an unpeeled potato, thicker than a shoestring, obviously golden brown, super crunchy on the outside, very soft and yielding on the inside. Appropriately seasoned, and actually not any kind of fancy seasoning. I'm just talking about salt.
So, and then just also for the kind of defining the terms around what we're doing for this podcast is we're looking at French fries from major restaurant or, of course, fast food chains that are either national or perhaps significantly regional, right? Because it may be that there's a restaurant on the corner in your town that serves phenomenal French fries. I know some of those here. A lot of us have been based around Southern California. I know a lot of local restaurants that serve great French fries, but A1, it's kind of hard to quantify that. A2, we don't have the general knowledge of those French fries for people across the country. So we're looking at things like, obviously, your McDonald's, your Burger King, your Wendy's.
Confirmation bias. Can we back off, please?
Okay. Just your basic national chains, as well as more regional chains, right? In some parts of the country, In-N-Out is very popular. In other parts, it may be Chick-fil-A.
He's doing it again.
Whataburger. Yes.
No.
Okay.
We need to jump into the rankings before you throw this whole thing.
We need to jump into the rankings. Let's jump into the rankings. We will provide the link on our Instagram to the poll that you can continue to vote on even after this episode. Give us your rankings. We'll talk about the rankings in a few minutes when I reveal the audience poll for today's episode. But we are going to start. Who wants to start with their number 3 ranking?
Ed, you go.
I'm going to start. Go ahead, Ed.
All right, so I'm going to go number 3. This is a place that is national but sparse. It is more known for its hamburgers, which are the best fast food hamburger.
Did we ask that?
That's an episode for another day. And I'm going to go with the crinkle cut fries from the Shake Shack.
Ooh, Shake Shack.
Man, crinkle cut fries can't get away from the Ore-Ida brand.
I love a crinkle cut fry. The texture, it gets extra crunchy because I guess there's probably more surface area to mass ratio on the crinkle cut due to the carefully cut geometric precision of the crinkles as they work their way down the fry. I think the quality of all the food at a Shake Shack is very high. So they're I don't think I've ever had a cold fry there. They're crispy. They have a good ratio between being thick enough but not too thick. Always well seasoned, very crunchy, crinkle cut, Shake Shack fry, number 3 for me.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you can still reach the flag from there. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I will ask you a question. Do you know which parts of the country Shake Shack is kind of more concentrated? I was on the East Coast earlier this summer and saw a lot of them, but on the West Coast, I don't feel like there are too many out here.
That's probably about right. It was started by a very famous restaurateur in New York City. They are all over the country. There is one in Beaverton, Oregon.
Okay.
Passed it the other day. They're all over Southern California. There's one in Las Vegas.
Okay.
They're metastasizing into airports.
Okay. The ubiquitous city of airport. Okay. Don, you want to start with your number 3?
Yeah, I'm going to go, and I'm just going to throw it out there, Wendy's. The Wendy's fry is a solid thickness. It is always served very hot. I don't know what it is about Wendy's fries, but they're always very hot. And quite frankly, the ketchup is good too. So I don't know what's going on. It's not a super deep analysis like Ed's. I'm just going to say Wendy's fries, surprisingly good, because Wendy's is a little bit of a like wild card if you go in there for a meal.
Mm-hmm. And it is probably one of the few places where, you have the Frosty. I mean, Frosty is really kind of hard to beat. And dipping, I have dipped a Wendy's fry into a Frosty, and that is an experience all into itself. So.
Absolutely. It's the halo around the perfect fry. Well,
okay, so my In-N-Out, my number 3 is going to be In-N-Out. Sorry, big reveal there. Sorry, movie twist.
Blew it.
So In-N-Out, of course, In-N-Out, national chain, privately held, always kind of interesting as far as that goes. Their fries are fairly basic, but when they're done well, they're done very well. I have an opinion about In-N-Out fries that I'm going to share with my number 2 choice in a few minutes. But In-N-Out fries, always a good, always a safe bet. I think a little bit saltier, and that might be by design, which goes well with some of their other tastes in their menu. So In-N-Out is going to be my number 3 choice for French fries. Okay.
All right, Ed, you need to go too, because you have opinions. I can see it coming through.
Well, In-N-Out fries are the choice of children and prisoners. And In-N-Out fries, for one thing, everybody knows that is not how you cook a French fry. Like a fresh cut French fry is not a good French fry. Proper French fry, like really proper French fries, are cooked twice. You cook them in oil at a lower temperature to kind of to cook the insides of it. You take them out, you let them cool, you drop them back into oil a second time at a higher temperature so they get nice and crispy.
Yeah, that you're shilling for McDonald's. McDonald's does that at the farm and then ships it.
Your choice is what, Ed?
I
didn't hear that either. What's your number 2?
Is flaccid and disturbing.
Okay, your number 2 choice
is...
All right, number 2. I think, my number 2 is... I think common opinion would say it's number 1. I don't think it's number 1. But the McDonald's French fry is obviously is a very good French fry. It's there can be some quality control issues. Sometimes you'll certainly get like the super oversalted batch or the cold batch, but day in, day out, little thin for my taste, but appropriately crunchy, good flavor. Oh, and one thing that McDonald's does, which is terrible for the environment apparently, but does make for a good French fry, they get these special potatoes that are like extra long, but in order to grow them requires a lot of chemicals and things. But that kind of accounts for the very pleasing length of a McDonald's French fries. So bad for the planet, but good for the belly.
Well, I can say you're squarely under the flag there.
Yeah, and good to have a good French fry for that hot day that McDonald's has produced by itself, growing those potatoes. So nicely done. Okay, Don, what's your number 2 French fry?
My number 2 French fry is the In-N-Out French fry, Ed. And I have some, but very specific opinions about this. All right, it is the In-N-Out animal style French fry. # secret menu, because it becomes something different when it's served animal style. And I will say it is 20% away from the flag of the French fry at this point. But I'm also going to throw down here that one of the most important things for a correct French fry is the container it is served in. The container that it is served in must be a cardboard boat. That is absolutely the correct way to serve a French fry. It reveals the full extent of the French fry, so you can get whatever sauce you're going to put on it, ketchup or otherwise, over the whole fry, and it's just appropriate. The envelope, the wax paper McDonald's envelope, is just like embarrassing. It's an insult. It's like you're being sent out into the wild with an inappropriate container for your French fry. Just get out of here is what that says to me. Wendy's at least comes with the cardboard container, and if you invest in the extra and extra large venti grande fries at McDonald's, you do get cardboard. But I'm going to go with the In-N-Out animal style. It's partly about the animal style. It's partly about the correct delivery.
The very fact that you chose animal style just reveals that the only way that the In-N-Out French fry becomes palatable is if you smother them in cheese and special sauce. Hot take, real French fry connoisseurs never smother them in anything.
Tell that to Canada.
Sorry, poutine fans. Sorry, devotees of the animal style In-N-Out French fry, because then they get soggy. I'm sorry. And then and everybody knows that the whole point of a French fry is that it is crispy and soft at the same time.
You are afraid to live on the margins. All right, number 2 there, Mark.
Okay, number 2. I'll try to not reveal this before I get to the end of my sentence, right? Number 2, my number 2 French fry, and I know I'm going to probably get some hate from, well, at least these two guys. Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Now here's we got to just hear the rationale here, right? So I have to admit, I'm kind of a fan of the waffle cut. So there's a little bit of geometry here. Now this is what Ed was referring to here earlier. There's a little bit of geometry with what's your ratio of crispy to soft parts of the French fry, right? So the waffle fry allows more of the fry, I guess you might call it a fry, to get...
Thanks for the air quotes, because that's appropriate.
So the waffle cut, here's what I want to say as far as my disclaimer about both.
It needs a disclaimer. That's enough. There you go.
Yeah.
Here, tell me your disclaimer about your French fry choice.
I'll tell you this. I have experienced that at both In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A, especially during times that are really busy, I will get fries that are slightly undercooked. But I think it's a function of the fact that they're so busy and people order so many fries that they're trying to run them through as quickly as they can on the short end of that timing interval that all restaurants try to keep consistent to. That's when I've been to Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out in some of their slower times, the fries seem to be fried kind of to perfection. So number 2 for me is Chick-fil-A. Let's deflect from the hate from the rest of the podcast.
Any place that would serve an undercooked fry is a place that doesn't respect the fry, they don't respect the customer, and really, they don't respect themselves.
Absolutely. The news just dropped today that Chick-fil-A is going to start streaming video because they have forgotten what they do. They're going to release reality TV programming on their own streaming channel. Wherefore art thou, French fry? You're not a Chick-fil-A.
I will say, before, earlier in the year, I would have come down, I would be a hard no on waffle fries in general. I will allow the waffle fry, and I will even say, I was at Smorgasburg in LA, and there's a place that does, there's a Middle Eastern place that does waffle cut fries. I think they're fried in beef tallow.
Yes.
And they really are magnificent.
Yes.
And
Canceled, but good.
Crunchy. They were crunchy and soft and incredibly well seasoned. I wish I could remember the name of that place. But the problem with the Chick-fil-A waffle fry is that they are always flaccid. Always. Never crunchy.
Can we, this is the second time we've used the word flaccid on this podcast.
I don't know what to say, but if the adjective fits the fry.
Okay.
It's 40%, 50% away from the flag. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, let's go to our number one choices here. Ed Song, hit us up with number one on your list.
Well, Don stole my thunder a little bit, but then showed his overall fry ignorance by listing Wendy's number 3. But Wendy's French fries are my number 1. Let me explain why. Number 1, they are a sea salt French fry. I don't know where the salt comes from other places, but at Wendy's they are described explicitly as a sea salt French fry. That's number 1. Number 2, they are the perfect thickness. It's thicker than the McDonald's French fry, and with the thicker cut, you get the extra fluffiness, and they are and they're crunchy and soft and golden brown.
And at least they come in a cardboard
perfectly
container.
Seasoned. The only thing that I would say about them is that sometimes they're short. And if they were more consistently long, if the Wendy's people had fewer scruples and weren't afraid to ruin the planet to get the extra long potato, then it would be the platonic ideal of the French fry. But Wendy's sea salt French fries, my number 1.
Let's just assume for the purposes of this podcast that if they're not advertised as sea salt, that they come from your tears, okay? From you guys, okay? You're cracking me up here, okay? Don, go ahead. What's your number 1 choice?
Okay, I don't care about your qualifications at the beginning, Mark. My number 1 choice is the Padaro Beach Grill French fries, located on 101. It is not a chain. It is served in a boat. It is the perfect thickness. It is seasoned, perfectly, and it's the right thickness. The Padaro Beach Grill. You get the boat, you take it, you sit on the picnic bench. It's by the beach. No one except people local here in Santa Barbara are going to have any idea what I'm talking about. But when you come here, get the fries. It's got everything.
He just kind of dropped the hand grenade out on everything that we're doing here, right? By the way, Padaro Beach Grill on Santa Claus Lane in Carpinteria, California.
Shout out.
They're looking up on a map. Clearly, they're getting a shout out, and they're not even advertising on this episode. So
I am not receiving a kickback from Padaro Beach Grill. Please sign up for Black Plants.
Okay.
It's a lovely place, good burgers, really good milkshakes. But
great.
Don that's 1 strike. 2 more, you're off the podcast, Patterson.
Okay, great view of the ocean. Occasionally an Amtrak train, the Pacific Surfliner coming through. So lovely place to be. Okay, wow. Wow. I feel a little boring here with my number 1 choice. My number 1 choice, I have to go McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's is kind of the stereotypical fry that became a celebrity for being a fry, right? I mean, it used to be, I would imagine, back in the halcyon days of our youth when the world was all in black and white, that the burgers were the star of the show and the fries were just something on the side. But McDonald's really made the fries something to behold, right? Where you might go for the burger, for the Big Mac, for the quarter pounder, for whatever, but you'd always get the fries. And I think they kind of raised the bar. I mean, we've talked about some of the challenges with McDonald's French fries, some of the maybe existential threats to the planet that we live on, but still they've made a good French fry. And I think for the most part, with some very minor changes, they're still good to this day. So McDonald's is going to be my number 1. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, and you know what? If you sign up for the app, you can get free French fries on Fridays. I have to say that one thing about McDonald's that this is the hard thing about doing the chains is that they have consistent fries all over the stinking planet. Like you can go into any McDonald's in any location anywhere, and you're going to get decent fries. Not the best fries, but decent fries.
Okay. Well, now we're here for the part of our show. Let's really quickly go back and review your 3, 2, 1. What's your 3, 2, 1? Ed, go ahead first.
So my number 3 was Shake Shack. My number 2 was McDonald's. My number 1 was Wendy's sea salt French fries.
Okay, Don.
Number 3, Wendy's, apparently sea salt French fries served in a cardboard container. Number 2, In-N-Out, animal style, served in a boat. Number 1, Padaro Beach Grill, # not a national chain. If you want to give me a free coupon, I'm up the street a little bit.
Okay. For me, number 3, what did I say? In and Out. Number 2, Chick-fil-A. Number 1, McDonald's. Now, we're here to the part of the show where we have put out a vote. Now, I'll explain how we're doing this. We put out a vote to a bunch of friends and family members and social media, things like that. We are using
Legion of Fans.
Legion of Fans. We are using what's called a ranked choice voting system. So we listed, easily 12 to 15 different chains.
Mark, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
Padara Beach Grill, was that on there?
No, it was not. It was not on there.
Thank you.
It was not on there.
Thank you.
And so, so if you want to take part in our ranked choice voting, you can go on to our Instagram page. We're gonna hopefully
link in bio,
and you can rank you can rank your top choice, or you can rank all of the choices in order from most favorite to least favorite. So we have 3 really clear winners from the field. Let me go 3, 2, 1 here. 3 is one that was already brought up. Chick-fil-A, brought up by me. So that was the number 3 vote from our audience. Number 2 was one that we haven't talked about. Five Guys.
What? Dark Horse.
Now, I was not a Five Guys connoisseur for a long time because they actually serve a lot of things with peanuts. We have a daughter who happens to have a peanut allergy, so we just kind of were always avoiding Five Guys. But I have heard people really kind of rave about not only their overall menu, but specifically about their French fries. Have either of you had Five Guys recently?
I haven't been to a Five Guys in a while. Burgers under-seasoned.
Mm-hmm.
But really, Five Guys is a menace to society. Like, you can't get within 100 yards of one of those. If you had a peanut allergy and you got if you even drive by a Five Guys and you look at it and you have a peanut allergy, you'll start to break out in hives.
Yeah.
My feeling is like, I
do the right thing. Don't go to Five Guys.
When I think of Five Guys, I think of myself covered in sauce. There's like wax paper and sauce and cheese everywhere. I just feel like I come out of it, and I got a beard, so I got to deal with it.
Clearly, we are not getting sponsored by Five Guys either, so let's just be really clear about that. Okay. Number 1 from the field, McDonald's. Again,
no one gets fired for picking McDonald's.
Yeah, kind of the stereotypical choice there. So, okay. Well,
I don't want to be negative, and probably somewhere in the podcasting handbook, it says that like you should love and respect your audience. But I hate our audience, and I hate both of you.
Okay. Well,
#, Legion.
Yeah. There's the love. So you've driven all 7 of them away, Ed. So, okay. So now we are to the part of the podcast. Now this is a feature that we're doing to kind of piggyback each episode onto one another. We also put out a poll to our #Legion of Fans about our next episode for our podcast, or for our next podcast episode. And without going kind of too deep into the details of what was on the table, the choice for our next podcast episode is going to be favorite Summer Olympic event. So we just concluded the Olympics at the time of this taping, just literally last week, the 2024 Paris Olympics. I kind of think, we're not, whether people are heavier or not into sports per se, the Olympics is always one of those things that people watch. And I kind of am curious from our audience about, especially people who are not sports fans per se, what they will choose Olympics to watch. Okay. So anyway, and we're going to be doing kind of general topic categories. So like the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they have track and field, or sometimes they call it athletics as an overall event. So maybe your favorite event is the 100-meter dash, but that would still be kind of under that general category. A lot of people like to watch Simone Biles, but gymnastics is obviously that general event. So we'll have to see. Okay, any thoughts or questions from the rest of my podcast team?
There are no sports in the Olympics that are done in a cardboard boat.
That is true. Okay, Ed, any last thoughts?
I think if we do this right, we're going to end up hating each other.
Perfect.
No.
So the cost of a successful podcast will be broken friendships. And I just want to say, I'm up for the challenge.
Okay.
Trauma bonding, y'all.
I will end by saying, like our French fry choices, we might all end up a little salty in the end.
And that's the wrap.
But isn't it worth it? So, okay, well, that's the end of our first episode. Thanks for hanging around for 30 minutes here on the 3 for 3 podcast. Check us out on our Instagram page, 3 for 3 podcast, as well as our soon-to-be created Facebook page. If you get a chance to vote on our your favorite summer Olympic event, as well as some choices for our next podcast topic. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time around.
Go to Wendy's.